It's getting cool. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajaka-acharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajaka-acharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktabinda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. So I have text 31 on page 450. Do you have a book? You can check. Make sure I think it's correct. Do you want to get a book, Bhagavad-avatar? Just grab a Bhagavad Gita there. Yeah, because I remember the thing about Prahlad and him not being among the Daitya demons. I am the devoted Prahlad. That means that says Prahlad is a demon. He's not a demon. Among the Daityas. Daityas just means the descendants of Diti. Anyway, so that's a reminder there. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 27th day of August, glorious Vyasa Puja Day, Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja Day, we are reading his Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as it is, chapter 10, the Opulence of the Absolute, text number 31, on page 450. Pavana Pavatam Asmi Rama Shastra Bhatamaham Jashanam Makaras Chasmi Srotasam Asmi Janavi. Hare Krishna. Welcome. Would you like to get some books? We have books that you can look at. Bhagavad Gita. Okay, page 450. Okay. Pavanak Pavatamasmi Ramakshastra Bhatamaham Jashana Makaras Chasmi Srotasam Asmi Janavi. And Pavanak Pavatamasmi Ramakshastra Bhatamaham Jashana Makaras Chasmi Srotasam Asmi Janavi. And Pavanak Pavatamasmi Ramakshastra Bhatamaham Jashana Makaras Chasmi Srotasam Asmi Janavi. You want to chant it, Bhakti-Davida? Bhavanak Pavatamasmi Ramakshastra Bhatamaham Jashana Makaras Chasmi Srotasam Asmi Janavi. Pavanak Pavatamasmi Ramakshastra Bhatamaham Jashana Makaras Chasmi Srotasam Asmi Janavi. Go ahead, Nathan. Pavanak Pavatamasmi Ramakshastra Bhatamaham Jashana Makaras Chasmi Srotasam Asmi Janavi. Ladies? Pavanak Pavatamasmi Ramakshastra Bhatamaham Jashana Makaras Chasmi Srotasam Asmi Janavi. Bhavanak Pavatamasmi Ramakshastra Bhatamaham Jashana Makaras Chasmi Srotasam Asmi Janavi. Anyone online? Okay. Whoops. Bhavanak Pavatamasmi. Your volume is very low, Tabas.
Okay. Ramakshastra Bhatamaham.
Ramakshastra Bhatamaham.
Jashanam Makaras Chasmi.
Jashana Makaras Chasmi.
Srotasam Asmi Janavi.
Srotasam asmi janavi. Page 450. Yeah, he can get it. Okay, there you go. All right, I'll read the word by words, and you just read along silently. Pavanak, the wind, Pavatam, of all that purifies, Asmi, I am, Ramaha, Rama. Shastrabatam, of the carriers of weapons, Aham, I am, Jashanam, of all fish, Makaraha, the shark. Cha, also, Asmi, I am, Srotasam, of flowing rivers, Asmi, I am, Janavi, the river Ganges. Page 450. So, just to introduce a little bit, Krishna is describing his vibhutis. The official chapter, the official title of this chapter is Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhutis means opulences. Basically, of all the fish, I'm the shark. He's saying, of bodies of water, he will say, I am the ocean. Of all categories of things, he's the greatest, he's showing. So the whole idea is that when you see those things that display some extraordinary power, opulence, or beauty or anything, you think, oh, this is Krishna's power that's being displayed here. It's a way of remembering Krishna. Of purifiers, I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapons, I am Ram. Of fishes, I am the shark. And of flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. Purport. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest and is certainly the most dangerous to man. Thus, the shark represents Krishna. Now, this of wielders of weapons, I am Ram. You should know that the commentators describe, of course, that's Ramchandra, wielders of weapons, but it's also Parashuram. Parashuram, who with his chopper, he annihilated the evil Kshatriyas 22 times. So that's also another way of understanding this chapter. The commentators give both interpretations. Let us go on. Sarganam adir antascha madhyam chai vaham arjuna adhyatma vidya vidyanam vadak pravadatamaham. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle. O Arjuna, of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self. And among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Purport. Oh, I'm going to read that translation again. Text 32. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle. O Arjuna, of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self. And among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Purport. Among the created manifestations, the first is the creation of the total material elements. As explained before, the cosmic manifestation is created and conducted by Mahā-viṣṇu, Garbhodaka-śāyī Vishnu, and Kṣīrodaka-śāyī Vishnu. And then again, it is annihilated by Lord Śiva. Brahmā is a secondary creator. All these agents of creation, maintenance, and annihilation are incarnations of the material qualities of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the beginning, the middle, and the end of all creation. For advanced education, there are various kinds of books of knowledge, such as the 4 Vedas, their 6 supplements, the Vedanta Sutra, books of logic, books of religiosity, and the Puranas. So altogether, there are 14 divisions of books of education. Of these, the book which presents Adhyatma Vidya, spiritual knowledge, in particular the Vedanta Sutra, represents Krishna. Among logicians, there are different kinds of arguments. Supporting one's argument with evidence that also supports the opposing side is called jalpa. Merely trying to defeat one's opponent is called vitanda. But the actual conclusion is called vada. This conclusive truth is a representation of Krishna. Om jnana timirandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshu unmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, one thing is the vada, the word vada. Now we have this Mayavada. You may have heard of Mayavad. Mayavad is impersonalism, philosophy. And you have shunyavad. Shunya is voidism. So that's leans toward the Buddhist conclusion, that ultimately everything is void. So the word vad simply means the natural conclusion. So it's come to mean a whole system of philosophy. That's one meaning of the word vada. So that, just for your information. But the general point here, and just to bring back the context, Krishna is giving a whole list. The chapter begins with Krishna explaining that he's the source of everything, and it culminates in the 4 main verses of the whole Bhagavad Gita. So it's worthwhile, since we're still in chapter 10, to just read those again, and they are verses 8 through 11. So I'm just going to read the translation again. Krishna says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Now, how do they worship? He gives a little summary in the next verse. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Now, what does Krishna do in reciprocation? That's the next verse, next 2 verses. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Now, how does he give that understanding? Well, it's explained in several places in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is within every one of our hearts as the super soul. In chapter 13, he directly says there's 2 souls in every heart, known as the Chaitra Gya. Does anyone know what that phrase means? Forgot. Chaitra is a field, and this body is said to be the field of our activity. We ourselves are the pure spirit soul. We're the particle of pure spirit in the heart. We don't die. We don't get born. But when we so-called die, it means that this particular body we're inhabiting is worn out, or is destroyed, or made dysfunctional by some reason, disease, injury, whatever, old age. It's no longer usable. So we leave it. It's not functioning. So we're carried from the body by the subtle body. There's a gross body and a subtle body. Gross body is what we commonly call the body. This body of bones and blood and everything, and all the senses that we call the body. But there's also the subtle body, the mind, the intelligence, and the ego. Ahankara, or the sense of self, is also a very subtle element. So those don't die either when the gross body dies. But as we have, whatever we've done and thought and heard and seen, and which has come to make up our consciousness, that is the template for our next body. That subtle body carries us to our next body. And there's also the concept of karma. As you interact with the world, you're either performing good karma or bad karma. What's bad karma? Karma against the natural laws and activities. Karma means activity in this context. That violate the laws of God, the laws of nature, you see? Just like even on a material level, a very understandable level. If you somehow get entangled in smoking cigarettes when you're 12, 15 years old, I started smoking when I was 15. I stopped when I was 21, thank God. That was back in 1962, I was 21, whatever. But if you continue to do that, it's going to have a bad effect on your body. It can even kill you, right? Cause and effect, cause and effect. So there's also a subtle cause and effect. Just like, people go shopping. I remember when, let's go this direction. I was a kid, we used to go bowling every Saturday night, I think it was, I was 17, 15, whatever. And then all of a sudden, there's this wonderful fast food restaurant that just popped up in a matter of days. It was the first McDonald's in that town. This was in the early 60s when they came on the scene. That's how old I am. And I said, oh, great. Now we can have a nice cheeseburger before we go bowling. No one thought twice about it. It's just, it's got our good fortune. We got the fries, and we got the cheeseburger, and we got the Coke. Now we can really bowl better, So, but that's a big karma, right? We learn now, we had no idea. Ignorance is the source of sin. You don't know, and then you get entangled in the action-reaction and you suffer. So I'm just eating this poor cow that went into making that cheeseburger. I don't know how many cows have had so many cheeseburgers. And that's all in my karma. I'm due to get the reactions to that, and it's horrific because there's so much suffering just by your own activity. So the ignorance is very dangerous, and that's why Prabhupada primarily came to give knowledge and the means of increasing that knowledge, and so he wrote these books at great effort. I mean, if you don't know the story, I mean, he had no money, he had no followers, he had no friends. Imagine going to India, and you're spending your last, what does it cost, $1,000 to get there? That's all you got in this world. You don't know anyone there. You have no idea where you're going. All right, was anyone going to do that? No. But Prabhupada, he had the order of a spiritual master. He had the blessings of the whole parampara. The story. I mean, he's coming across on this freighter. This is in 1965, September. Now, I know from living in Miami when the hurricane season is in the Atlantic Ocean. And it was precisely that, August, September. So he's crossing the Atlantic. He's elderly, 69. And not in the best of health. So he was getting nauseous. He had 2 heart attacks, and he writes in his journal. He was keeping a journal. I said, if there's another one tonight, then I'm finished. I'm going to die. So what happens? Krishna appears to him in a dream. God appears in a dream. He says, don't worry, I'm taking charge of the boat. Everything will be all right. So it was very calm, which is very unusual at that time of year. And he didn't have another heart attack. And he was able to land safely in Boston and then come down to New York. But when he came to New York, it was still a struggle. He had one contact, a yogi, Dr. Mishra, who was already established. Yoga was starting to become popular in America in the mid-'60s. So he was able to stay with him and, meet after he came back. He had another contact in western Pennsylvania, in a town that was completely obscure until the last month or two. It's called Butler, Pennsylvania. Does that ring a bell with anybody? Anyone's watching the news? Anyway, I'm not going to remind you of what happened there recently. But Prabhupada stayed there with an Indian family, and he had this, but he didn't want to just stay in an obscure little town in agrarian Pennsylvania. So he came back. He came to New York City. Was able to get some shelter there, but Dr. Mishra realizes, because he was an impersonalist, when Prabhupada would speak to his students, he was speaking against his philosophy, and so he wouldn't let him speak. So eventually he came downtown to Lower East Side. I used to live there, and that was like a hotbed of new thought, and everyone was dropping LSD and taking, seeing God and everything. So there was all of this interest in spiritual matters. And he was able to plant some seeds there and take root in 26 2nd Avenue. It's very famous. So anyway, when you study his life and you see that, he obviously had divine inspiration, but he also had divine help in helping him to start this movement and make it a worldwide movement in a matter of, 12 years he traveled, from 65 to 77, then he left this world. But what did he leave behind? Temples everywhere, devotees chanting Hare Krishna, deities, prasadam, farms, schools. It's amazing, you see. So Prabhupada himself and this movement is also a vibhuti. It's not listed in this chapter because it didn't exist at this time. But it's also an evidence of the reality of the divine force and how we can get the blessings of the Lord if we act in the right way. So anyway, going on. So what does Krishna say for someone who performs? This is what we do in the movement. Machita. We think of Krishna. We dedicate our lives to His service. We speak about Him. We're doing it right now. And nityam. The nityam is important. You're always doing one of these things, and you're enjoying this transcendental pleasure. Hare Krishna. Welcome. Tushyanti chadamanti. What does tushyanti mean? It means they become very pleased, and ramanti, they enjoy transcendental bliss just by glorifying God. Because God is in our heart. He knows when we're chanting His name, attending His class, then He's pleased. You have the, I'm sorry, we're reviewing the chapter. We're on page 431. I'm reading about the second of the four key verses in the whole Bhagavad Gita. Since we're in this chapter, it's worth reviewing. And so, placing your mind on Him, getting your life to Him, speaking, glorifying about Him. Katayantas means speaking, always, and you enjoy transcendental happiness and bliss and peace. So that's what he's, and then he says, how does He reciprocate? Tesham satati yuktanam, that's text 10. To show those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, that's in the previous verse, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. From within the heart, we get inspired, you know. Why did you all come here? Well, somehow or other, you had the idea that there was something here that you would find of value. The tacos are always there. I mean, that's certainly a value. But aside of that, that's prasadam. That's not just ordinary food. Spiritual. But there'll be the deities, you know, we'll be able to see them in half an hour or so. And, but some knowledge. The knowledge is really the thing. Something that you can use in your life. That's the most practical thing. So he says, from within the heart, I give the inspiration, I give the intelligence by which they can further come to me. And then this last verse, Tesham Avanakambatam, to show them special mercy. I, dwelling in their hearts. I mentioned how He's there as the super soul in everyone's heart. That's in the 13th chapter. I destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. And as we mentioned, ignorance is the source of sin, and sin is the source of suffering. So, I mean, it works on a material level too. I like to bring up the point, I'm so old now. I remember when they first put those messages on the packs of cigarettes, cigarette smoking is dangerous to your health. You know, it was obvious it was, but they were paying doctors to say, no, it hasn't really been confirmed that cigarette smoking causes cancer. I remember seeing in Life magazine, it was a picture magazine, there was a guy, I don't know, maybe just dressed as a doctor, and he was quoted, no, you know, it's not completely confirmed yet, so don't worry. Yeah, great, you know. Of course it's hazardous to your health. So if you know that, then if you're intelligent, you will refrain from doing it, right? We know that COVID is dangerous. It's everywhere. Put on the mask, right? I'm not going to put on any mask. Well, okay. Well, you may get COVID. You know, so knowledge is essential, and this whole book of Bhagavad Gita is full of knowledge. We can know who we are, who God is, what this world is, what is the source of our suffering, how we can reach a state beyond suffering, go back to Godhead for eternal life of bliss and knowledge. That's all here in this book. Now, you may not believe it, but the fact that so many people have believed it and have followed the instructions and are experiencing the benefit, this should be a source of interest for us. Maybe it works. Well, maybe I'll try it. It can't hurt to just chant a little Hare Krishna, you know, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And if you do it, it's so potent. You know, we hear this in I think Bhagavad Gita will say it, but how just chanting one name, Krishna, eliminates so much karma that is due to come due to you, you know? In other words, it's so powerful, you don't recognize it. Just like you may take a medicine, and you may not feel the effects right away, but you know it's doing you good, you know? And because there's a history of it working, and it works. So Krishna, this process of Hare Krishna, I'm not going to get into all of that now, that's another idea. But just these four verses, Krishna says, out of compassion, in other words, special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So this is a very important part of our philosophy, that Krishna is God, but He's not just some force. He's such a great force that how can He pay attention to us little, you know, insignificant souls? No. He is just like a father, an affectionate father. And yes, He has a family of millions and millions of trillions of living beings who are also His descendants. But He cares about all of them, and especially in the human form where we can understand this. And so He wants to make available that means by which we can come back to Him. We've been suffering in so many births and years in this world, material world. This is not our home. We belong in the spiritual world, in the kingdom of God, in paradise, whatever you want to call it, where there's no birth, there's no death, because the soul doesn't die. That's the first lesson, Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. We never die. I have this little poem, a little motto. You're free to put it on a t-shirt if you like. You know. Every body dies, right? Every single body dies. Everybody dies, nobody dies. Wake up and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. I give them away free. They're yours. But really, that's an essential lesson there. That's what Krishna is saying in the second chapter, and it's confirmed in other parts. Is that if we believe it, even if we like say, well, maybe it's true, it should change our whole perspective on life. Because just to be concerned with this one spot life is very ignorant. In other words, it's not really taking advantage of the great opportunity of human life. And I love to quote this verse. Prabhupada will quote it all the time. It's from another book called the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto. I think it's part of the Uddhava Gita. You know, there's the Bhagavad Gita, but there's another Gita spoken by Krishna in the 11th canto to his friend Uddhava. And many of the same themes are there, but it's more expanded. So he says, and this is for all of us, Labdva sudurlabamidam bahusam bhavante manushyam artadamanityam apiya dhira turnam yateta napateta namityavak nikshayasaya vishayakalasarvataksyan. So there's a lot of Sanskrit, but it has a nice rhythm, doesn't it? You can't do that in English. I'll give you some special verses near the end. So what is he saying there? In human being, you have attained this very hard to attain, rare human form of life. Now, just logically, we can just look at the number of human beings there are on this Earth planet. It's like past 8 billion. Okay, wow, that's a lot. There are probably that many ants, in this patio, or in maybe a few fields outside. What to speak of all the other out in the ocean? There's billions and billions of living beings, right? Fish and all kinds of things, little one-cell organisms. They're also alive. They also have a soul. Now, how did they get that way? Well, they're constitutionally the fish, and we're constantly... No. We could also become fish. You know, I live here in Pacific Beach, and it's a popular destination for guys who are into surfing. You know, and sometimes I see them, they're running to the ocean with their surfboard under their arm, or they're riding a bicycle. Oh, is that you?
They have to pee.
They have to?
Have to pee.
Really? How do you know?
That's why I run. I have to pee.
Anyway, maybe not. But the point is, they're anxious to get to the ocean, to get in that surf. I've never surfed, but there must be a rush that's involved, right? Hare Krishna. So anyway. But okay, they get that mentality. I like to play in the ocean, and sometimes it's a real thrill, You can become a fish. You can become a fish. Your soul will not change, but you'll be now in a fish body. And your consciousness will be way down in the fish, You lost your human form of life. You won't lose it for good. You'll eventually come back up. But it may take a bunch of years. It may take 100 years. So, what is it special about this human form of life? That's in this verse. So, after many births, you have attained this rare human form of life. And manusham, it's the same word. Sanskrit is the source of all languages. Manusham, human being, man. Artadam, this key phrase. Arta means something valuable. It can mean money, or it can mean the goal of your life, the supreme goal of your life, to get rid of all these repeated births and deaths in this world and go back to the eternal world, back to Krishna Loka, where there's just play all day, playing in relation to Krishna, enjoying the service to God and His company in the supreme abode. So that's the goal. That's the opportunity we have as human beings. So that's what he's saying in this verse. Left side. Artadam, it gives this value, of escape from this bondage and freedom back home. But it's anityam. It's not eternal. It's temporary. The clock is ticking on every one of us. We're closer to death today than we were yesterday. Who can deny it? So one has to be dhira, means very thoughtful and sober-minded, and then come to the right conclusion, which is turnam yateta. Immediately, without wasting time, anytime. Strive. Yateta means strive. Strive for what? Now this is important. As long as your body hasn't died, you're still alive. Now the word shreyas in Sanskrit means an ultimate good. as opposed to prayas, which means immediate good. We're very familiar with that. Meaning, okay, how can I become more comfortable now? You know? All right, let me get up and turn on the air conditioner. Oh, what a relief. So that's immediate good, right? Immediate happiness. But it doesn't really solve your problem, you know? There's many immediate goods. Please have a seat. Maybe we have more books. Can someone... Oh, where's our man? Chad has left us. There are more in the closet. Okay. Yeah, some books. So we're on page... well, actually, we're studying page 432 and 433. So, we're very familiar with this prayas. Yeah, we're looking at page 433, which is the fourth of the most essential verses in the whole Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Te sham evanakam padam hama jnanajam tamaha nashiyam yatma bhavasto jnana dipena bhasvataha. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts as Supersoul, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So Krishna wants to do that. He's just waiting for us to approach him, like he describes here. So what's the advantage? By that knowledge, which is encapsulated in this verse I'm taking apart now, it says, by the human form, if you act according to the principles that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita and in the Bhagavatam, then you can attain nikshayasa, the ultimate good, the ultimate thing that we should strive for. We first have to know what it is. And the ultimate thing is, first of all, the end to birth, old age, disease, and death. This is what it means to be in the human body. We like to not think about those things. Actually, material life means one thing after another to help us to forget that we're headed toward death and old age and disease and all those things. You know, they recently opened up a new gym called the Yard Gym. Is anyone familiar with that? It comes from Australia. You know, and you just don't go there and pedal your own bicycle. You know, your own stationary bike. You see, that's common. No. They have coaches in there. There's music. Sometimes they run around the block. It's a whole thing, you know. Very popular, because I take a walk up there at 6:30 in the morning. They're coming. It's filled. Music is playing. That's a temple to this body. See? This is a temple to God and Spirit. But they're into it, you know. And in that age, I mean, I was once 23, you know, before I joined here, and you don't think. You don't think, you know, all the time, oh my God, I'm going to get old and then die. No. You know, I'm constitutionally young and healthy, and there's those poor old people, they're constitutionally like that. It's crazy. I used to live in Miami. I like to tell this story. I was working on the books. I've been editing these Prabhupada's books for over 50 years now. And so I went there to work on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who are familiar with that. It's now an 18-volume set. Prabhupada, because he was traveling all the time, and he stopped doing Bhagavatam to give the Krishna book, the story of Krishna, and a couple other things, he was able to get through 13 chapters of the 10th canto. But there are 90 chapters of the 10th canto, and there are there's 30 chapters or more in the 11th canto, and 13 in the 12th canto. So those we were working on. My wonderful godbrother, Gopi Puranadana Prabhu, who's left us in 2011. And Ridinanda Das Goswami, he was the translator-in-chief. And so we had a team there, and we're putting out the books, you know. And so one thing I was very conscious of there was the hurricanes. You know, you're right there in Miami, and you have to keep watching the Weather Channel, you know, see if anything is heading your way, you know. So you're reminded by those things of the tenuousness of your condition. And so and we're working on this book knowing that this was Prabhupada's desire, and it's the summum bonum, it's the highest compendium of spiritual knowledge. Remember we talked about Vedanta Sutra and the Mayavads. Mayavads means those who are impersonal, who think the ultimate reality is white light, is pure spirit. And their ideal is to try to merge in that. What's the advantage? Oh, no more birth, old age, disease, and death. It's like a negative thing. And you compare it to a sensory deprivation chamber. Have you ever? I've never been in one, but it's like perfect temperature, and you lie down in water, and it's maybe you're in there, right? So, oh, what a relief! You know, this is great. But then after a long, you say, oh my God, I got to go to work, right? At a certain point, you have to come out of that, right? So, but that's what this Brahman realization is, the ultimate sensory deprivation chamber. You have no body, you have no worries, you're just pure spirit, and I'm free. I'm free of old age, disease, and death, right? But that's not real happiness. That's negative. The example is in the hospital. Suppose you're laid up, you're in traction, right? You had an accident in the car, and so you're in there for maybe weeks, you know. Your friends come and say, oh, when am I going to get out of this? And finally you heal up, and you're released from the hospital. What a relief, I'm out of that hospital, you know. But then what do? Do you just sit down on the curb and say, now, no more traction? No. Then you resume your activities, right? So we have activities, we have Leela, we have pastimes with Krishna in the spiritual world, which we suspended because we wanted to try out being Krishna. See if we could become the supreme controller and the enjoyer and compete with Krishna. But that kind of mentality is not harmonious in the spiritual world. So we're given this material world to try it out. But it's a failure. And even if you're Lord Brahma, he was mentioned. Lord Brahma lives for countless millions and billions of years. And he's the engineer of the universe. But he's a living entity like us. And ultimately he has to leave that body and take another body. Now our Brahma is realized, so he'll go back to Godhead. But not every Brahma goes back to Godhead. He comes back down, all the way to the human being and then further down. You know, this is what it means to be conditioned without the knowledge and the practice of Krishna consciousness, is that you're victimized by the material energy, by Maya, illusion. So that's why Krishna is stressing knowledge. I give the knowledge by which they can come out of the darkness. So just to finish the verse, so he's encouraging us, you're a human being now. And what's special about the human? The intelligence by which we can understand all these things. And we can control the lower self. The animals don't control the lower self. They live by instinct, right? They don't have, the mosquito doesn't say, should I or shouldn't I bite this guy? Maybe he's a nice guy. No, I smell of blood there, let me get, So we want, the human intelligence can be purified by hearing from the right source and changing our activity. And I'm going to share with you a verse. The Sanskrit is so exquisite. And it's all about the purification of the intelligence and how important that is. So it says, Kama dinam katina katita palita dunideshas tesham jata mayana karuna nattapano prashantihi utsrijaitan hatayodupate sampratam labdha buddhis tvamayatak shadanam abhayam mam niyung swatma dasye. Can't do that in English. So I put it in a poem. This verse was spoken by Lord Chaitanya. Many of you know who Lord Chaitanya is. Krishna, in the form of his own devotee, who propagated this wonderful chanting about 550 years ago now. And he's Krishna himself, but in the mood of the devotee of Krishna. So he says, he's speaking to Sanatana Goswami, and there's some evidence that this was originally written by Madhavendra Puri, those who know the history. So I put in a poem. In how many ways have I sought to obey the seductive demands of my wicked desires? They've shown me no mercy, yet on I've gone shamelessly trying to quench lust's unquenchable fires. But now I'm rejecting these hellish desires, for my higher intelligence now has awoken. O Krishna, O shelter of fearlessness, please let me serve you with faith that will never be broken. So this idea of purifying the intelligence, strengthening the intelligence by hearing the words from Krishna or from his pure devotee. This is how we hearing them and putting them into practice. Then that intelligence becomes stronger. And what do we do with it? When the mind says, go here, do this, they say, no. That's leading me to suffering and, not good. Rather, the intelligence says to the mind, now you do this. You chant Hare Krishna, and you read this book. Now, it's a process. It's a sadhana. Sadhana means a practice, and it comes to a sadhya, which is the goal. And for any goal that you want to achieve, there's a practice. Suppose they just had the Olympics, right? And you grow up and you're pretty athletic, hey, I can do that. Let me become a high jumper or a sprinter or something, right? Wow, look, she's good. Yeah, I can do that. So, all right, that's where your mentality is at. So now, and your parents may say, oh, this person, you know, and they have the money, they can get a training, right? So then you go and say, no, don't run like this, you know, and eat the diet like this and practice like this. So there's a guru, there's a teacher, and there's an ideal, there's a goal that you're striving for. And if you have the facility, and if you have the will, and if you have the desire, you can achieve that goal. But that goal is not going to help you ultimately to be an Olympic champion, right? You'll be very proud, you make money, you know, endorsements and everything. But it's all very temporary. That's the point. And in order to become impressed by that temporariness of it, that it's not really, you need to have access to this kind of knowledge, which can give you understanding of the ultimate goal that is not temporary, where you can be happy forever. Not as some, you know, proud person who beat someone else in a race, but rather in your original form, your original identity as a servant of Krishna, in a very special way. Each one of us has a rasa with Krishna relationship. And this is where Prabhupada's gifts are so important. He gave us the Krishna book as what's really going on in the spiritual world, and how you can be related to God, who is full of love. This is the main thing. It's not just power. He's full of love, and for the servants, and for his friends, and for his mother, and for his gopis, and everything. I mean, wouldn't an ideal world, what would you do if you were God? Well, I wouldn't go to work, 9 to 5, that's for sure, I'd play all day. But if you try that now, you'll go broke, you get evicted, you'll end up on the street, So that's not going to work. But there is a world where God is playing all the time, Leela. Everything is Leela. Just like we're coming up on this Kartik month. Right? Some of you may know Kartik month. This is the month where Krishna has this wonderful pastime with his mother. Krishna appears a little baby, where he performs some very naughty thing. She runs after him. That itself is a very blissful pastime. She's running after him, and all the other gopis and everyone are watching this. He's running, supposedly in fear. This is God. He's all powerful, but he hides all that so he can enjoy this rasa with his mother. He can experience maternal love. You see? And finally she catches him. We have a little frieze there, a picture of Krishna being bound, but there's a big mistake in it. This was pointed out by someone who used to live here, Pradyumna. She's not tying him to anything. I mean, there's a big grinding mortar that she's supposed to tie him to. That's somehow left, they forgot that. She's just tying him. But anyway, you get the mood. So she's binding him. This is so he won't be mischief, cause any more trouble. And he's afraid. He's crying. He's going. But it's so delightful. This is all-powerful God who is hiding that to enliven his mother with this rasa and to experience it himself. And that's what he does in the ultimate world. He has his friends. He has his father. He has his gopis, and it's just no one gets old and dies. No. You're situated in your eternal. We all have spiritual bodies. Now it's a combination, matter and spirit. We're spirit inside, animating the body, but it's just a machine, and eventually it breaks down, and all of our hopes and plans are dashed, and we don't know where we're going on the material side. But in Krishna consciousness, you have some idea where you're going. Even if you take another body, well, I'll get another chance to practice Krishna consciousness. This is very encouraging. Near the beginning of the book, 2nd chapter, Krishna says, Neha brahmanashosti pratyabhayo navidyate svalpamapasya dharmasa trayate mahato bayat. Very encouraging verse. In this practice of Krishna consciousness, chanting and cultivating knowledge and lifestyle that's guided, there's no loss or diminution. What does that mean? It means that even when you die, whatever bhakti credits you have, they'll take you into a situation in your next life you can continue bhakti. That's not going to happen for is it Jeff Bezos? Bezos, the guy, multi-billions. I guess sometimes you see these, you see the news or something, and he's at some incredibly opulent building, where he lives and everything. How long? How long can it last? He's getting older. that body, huh?
Say the words.
I'm sorry?
You might say the words. Hare Krishna, you might say it.
Yes, maybe he did, all to his bed. But the thing is, what is he doing, You don't know this. This is something, it's a very interesting fact, far-out fact. Back in 1976, okay, that's 10 years after Prabhupada started the movement, there was the first New York Ratha Yatra. you know, Ratha Yatra, for those of you who don't know, is a big festival. Ratha means carts. It's been going on in Jagannath Puri for thousands of years. Cart is not the right word. It's a big chariot, you know, elaborate chariot with big wheels. And we have these deities, manifestations of Krishna, Jagannath deities, and there's one for Jagannath, one for Subhadra, and one for Balaram. And you know, when you sometimes they are three on the same cart. But this was one, you know, 3 carts, big carts, down Fifth Avenue, which Prabhupada knew when he came. This is the most important street in the most important city of the world, you know. So from a little storefront, you know, he's actually living on the Bowery. It's really, you don't even want to remember that part. But he's at a little storefront in Manhattan, down in the Lower East Side. He's now riding down Fifth Avenue on Subhadra's cart, you know, and there's at least 1,000 devotees. They flew in from all over, you know, dancing and chanting like that. So, but building those carts wasn't easy. You got to have a place to do it. In New York, every inch is, you know, is occupied or owned, you know, like that. It's in Manhattan. How are they going to do that? So they went here and there, and they saw that there's this one plot of land that seemed to be, it wasn't in use, and there was fences around it and everything. And they thought, well, maybe if we can find who owns that, he'll let us build the carts there, you know? So who was the owner? Trump. Donald Trump. Yes. Just starting his business, you know, this is, well, 76 he was going. So they approached him, maybe they brought him a lot of prasadam, whatever they did, he agreed. And they were able to build those carts on that land. And that was the one bit of good karma he had in his whole life. And then you see what it got. Anyway, I don't know. It's just it's an amazing fact, you know. And anyway, there's all kinds of things around that first. But that was Jayananda's last Ratha Yatra. He was, and so many stories around him. And there Prabhupada was riding in triumph down the Fifth Avenue, you know, and thousands of people saw it, you know, amazing, you know. And now it's come, you know, and it started in San Francisco in 67, and then in 76 there was the most elaborate one. And just they had the one in LA, there was a record number of people there, and the mayor, he gave him a plaque, you know, this is Ratha Yatra Day and all this stuff. Yeah, yeah. And in Moscow they had 1.5 million people just came. Moscow. So that's all from, you know, Prabhupada's efforts. And it's just, why did the mayor say it's not? Because he can see that everyone is so happy. You know, they're dancing, and then there's free food we distribute. I was at the prasadam desk. I was 10th this time, pouring out the nectar. You know, and it's all good, and it's a taste of the spiritual world. Spiritual world is filled with dancing and chanting and glorifying Krishna and engaging in all these different pastimes, and it never ends. It's the only thing that never ends. So that, you know, and you say, well, it sounds like fantasy to me. You guys are living in a dream world. No. There's a whole line at the beginning of this book. I'm just getting, oh God, it's late. I'm sorry, I have to stop. In the introduction at the end, there's a parampara, the disciplic succession. It begins with Krishna. And the last one here is Srila Prabhupada. But there's all these great souls and towering intellects. You know, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Madhvacharya is there, and Madhavendra Puri. I mean, you read about their lives. These were not just, you know, foolish, simpletons. They're all greatly learned. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, you know, and they all believed this, and they lived their life according to that, and they would expand the movement in that way. So this is, you know, it's like you go to school. You go to college. Why do you go to that? Because they're the people who are recognized. Oh, they're, you know, physicists or doctors or whatever. You can learn something. So the same thing is here. This is for real. And if you try it, then you get the result. It's visceral. You know, you chant. You do the things that, further Krishna consciousness, and you give up the things that are impediments to Krishna consciousness. There's do's and don'ts for everything. You want to be an Olympian? You know, then you have to move the body this way and eat this way, you know. If you don't, then you can't, you know, be the champion. Oh, okay, I'll do it. I want the champion. So we want the gold medal. Not in this world. We want the gold medal of going back home, back to Godhead. All right, it's 8:10, so I'll give you one more poem. And then we'll adjourn and we'll have a beautiful kirtan. We'll be able to see the deities. Okay, so this is a prayer to have the lotus face of Krishna manifest in one's heart for eternity. You see? And you'll see, when you see Radha's in Krishna's face, you'll see why it's so attractive, you know. So, written by Rupa Goswami, he says, Manasija Pandidushte. No, I'm sorry. How's it go? Oh, I forgot. Well, I'll give you this other one that I just remembered. This is a prayer to Krishna pull us out of this well of material life. Manasija Pandidushte labdapastosmi dushte timandagahana rupe hanta sangsara kupe. Ajatanikala-dakshahe tamurdada-daksham hupanayamamahaste bhakti rajum namaste. Fallen in this deep and dark and dirty well of Maya, threatened by the snake of lust whose venom burns like fire. Helplessly I pray, O Lord, whose strength is ne'er in doubt, place the rope of bhakti in my hands and pull me out. That rope of bhakti is the do's and the don'ts of the process of sadhana bhakti, the practice. So what is our job? To hold on to that rope by practicing strictly, by finding out what we should do and what we can do, and doing that and then advancing. And so that's a wonderful prayer by Rupa Goswami. I thought I'd share with you. I have a whole set of poetry, if you want them, about Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, and prayers, all kinds of things. It's very expensive. You have to write me an email and I'll send it to you. That's the cost. So the name is Dravida 108, Dravida 108 at Gmail. And I'll send you a nice PDF of all my poetry, free of charge. All glory to Srila Prabhupada, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you for listening. And we will resume. I didn't get very far in the chapter, but let's see. 31, I know we did. Yep, we just did that one verse, I think. No, we did 32 also. Yeah, 33. Tomorrow, Wednesday. Oh, let me just put this on. You're much more efficient than I am. Okay.